for a long time, due to conditions inside England, Parliament exists in kind of a twilight region. It's there, it's not terribly important, and it's there, people, their elections to it, and still not really terribly important. This comes about more than anything else because of something called the War of the Roses. England was divided between families that had their own armies. And, the White Rose and the Red Rose, the House of York and the House of Lancaster. England turned into a pretty lawless place. There were a series of not so good kings, one of whom quite possibly was somewhere on the autistic spectrum. It's kind of hard to tell exactly what was going on. It's a very chaotic time. And I'm not sure anybody could have ruled except a sure dictator. And of course, eventually that's what you get. Henry VII Tudor, has a very weak claim to the throne, but since his army attacks and kills the reigning king, Richard III, who, I hate to say this, probably well deserved to be killed. And Henry VII is just simply, he's a dictator. More people are hung during the years Henry VII, otherwise executed, during the years that Henry is on the throne than any other time in English history. By the time Henry VII is done with England, peace has returned. But the idea that you could only have peace if there's a strong man, and this time has taken pretty strong hold. And the requirement of a king to hold council before making major decisions is kind of drifting away at this point. It's a memory more than it is a reality. And of course, Henry VII's son, Henry VIII, we all know him, 6 wives and all that stuff, very heavy, big guy. Toward the end of his life, he had reached a point where they literally had to have a crane over his bed in order to get him up in the morning. So he, nevertheless, he has a problem. Henry does. The younger Henry has a problem, and that is his wife, Catherine of Aragon. Well, she, a Spanish princess who, by the way, Henry VII more or less kidnapped. That may be too strong a term, but let's say he held on to her when he should have returned to Spain. Catherine of Aragon reaches around 40 and it becomes pretty clear that she's not going to produce a male heir. And Henry VIII is interested in getting rid of her, doesn't want to kill her. Actually, I think Henry liked Catherine, and I think Catherine liked Henry, and as much as you could, given the fact that this is a dynastic marriage. But still, she's going to be treated reasonably well once he gets rid of her. How does he get rid of her? Well, the Pope's not going to give him a divorce, an annulment of his marriage, because the Pope's fighting Protestantism. And the Protestant Revolution has broken out, Protestant Reformation. And so he doesn't want to look as though, Pope doesn't want to look as though he's weak or that he's everything that people say about popes in those days. And so he's going to be pretty strict on this issue and basically tell Henry that he can't annul his marriage to Catherine on some, flimsy excuse. So the end result, therefore, is that Henry just says, all right, if you don't want to give me a divorce, tell you what, I have my own church. Now, it's not a Protestant church, and it's not a Catholic church. It's kind of like the English Catholic Church. And with that, he gets the annulment he wants, and he marries Annie Boleyn. Annie Boleyn's she is a very smart lady. She probably tends toward being Lutheran, which is not disqualifying. Henry, she has a female child, um, Elizabeth, and after a while, Henry begins to think that maybe he took up with Anne because she was a witch. I think he actually kind of believed that, and eventually accuses her of treason and a bunch of other things, and she will be beheaded. I don't think that history would find that Anne did anything wrong, but Henry, a little bit on the superstitious side, and Anne wasn't producing male heirs. But there's a problem. Is Elizabeth a bastard? And from the wife before Catherine, she had a daughter, Mary. Is she legitimate? So essentially, you need, yes, the king could have done this by decree. He could have said, particularly because Parliament at this time is just this kind of weak body. As I say, it meets, there's elections, but it's kind of like, your neighborhood civic organization at this point, full of good intentions. But Henry realizes that to do a true change in religion, which he needs, because he's annulled Catherine, he's executed Anne. He really needs to have this change go through, and he actually needed it before he married Anne. And so it's going to take a while for them to work all the details out. A Parliament represents the whole realm, so that Henry can say, I'm not the one who's annulling the Catholic Church. My kingdom is. And so, although Henry tells Parliament what to say, he's still dependent upon Parliament to say it. Parliament has to have, the dignity and authority and, the merit and the honor to do so, and make it stick. And so essentially Henry VIII, in a backhanded, sideways kind of way, revives Parliament. And some of his heirs are not going to be real happy about this, and they're going to have battles with Parliament, but it's Henry VIII needing a male heir, and being attracted to Annie. Let's be truthful about it. He was having an affair with her sister. This really is what revives Parliament and makes it into a more or less, notice the words, legitimate governing body. They passed the Act of Supremacy, which basically makes Henry, which basically sets up an English Catholic Church, although they didn't put the word Catholic in there, and makes Henry, the head of it, so that essentially he can, govern, oversee matters of faith. This is a pretty substantial change. The Catholic Church has been around for 1,500 years. And so overnight, you're going to change England from being Catholic to being something else. And they didn't have words for it yet. And that then produces two legitimate heirs. Mary the First, actually three. Mary the First from Catherine of Aragon, and Edward the Sixth from Henry's third wife, Jane Seymour, who is going to die shortly after childbirth. Now, Elizabeth is still, she's betwixt and between. She is a bastard by the point of view of the Catholic Church, because she's not born in Catholic wedlock. But her mother is executed on charges of treason, witchcraft, and all that stuff. So under normal circumstances, she's not legitimate. These two are, thanks to Parliament, thanks to that Act of Supremacy. And there's going to be an Act of Succession passed then, which will make Edward the heir, and then Mary the heir. And then Parliament is going to do the darndest thing. They're going to turn around and put Elizabeth, a bastard from both sides of the coin, as the third heir. Now, Edward VI is going to die young. Mary the First is going to die relatively young. And Elizabeth is going to come to the throne and rule just about forever. So sometimes you can't always anticipate the twists and turns that history will take. But all of this moving around, game playing, all this weird in and out stuff produces one of England's great rulers. A bastard from the Protestant point of view, a bastard from the Catholic point of view. Elizabeth I is still one of the great kings, or one of the great queens of England. Everybody out there, take care. If you like these videos, you can follow my blog at timblessing.com. We invite you to subscribe. We want to keep this going, and we're having a lot of fun with these videos. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at BLESSTI. So everybody out there, take care. And, I'm hoping that we're all healthy and go for many years. Okay. So take care out there. Bye-bye.